To my dear and beloved Beth Jacob members and friends, I hope that you and your family are managing as well as possible during these incredibly trying times. I miss you very much. I hope to be in touch and stay in touch with all of you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. The book of Vayikra opens up this week with the pasuk Vayikra el Moshe, Vayidaber Hashem elav me'ol moed, that God calls to Moshe at the Ol Moed, which is the sanctuary in the wilderness. And Rashi comments on this opening pasuk that Vayikra implies a personal, loving, caring call from Hashem to Moshe. This is the word that's used by the angels, by the Malachei Hasharet, as it says, V'kara ze el ze v'yamar. Hashem's personal, loving call to Moshe is contrasted with the way Hashem spoke to Bilam in Parshat Balak. There it says, Vayikar Elokim el Bilam. And Rashi points out that Vayikar implies a more random, superficial, coincidental, cold type of connection between Hashem and Bilam. And so that's the contrast between the way Hashem speaks to Moshe and the way Hashem speaks to Bilam. Now, if you look in the pasuk, what's interesting and curious is the fact that, as many of you know, the aleph in the word Vayikra is small. It's as if the other letters of the pasuk are the font of 14, and then Moshe minimized the font of the aleph to be a font of 8 or 10. And whether it's in the Sefer Torah or the Chumash, the question is, what's the significance of the small aleph? The Baal HaTurim famously explains that God wanted to write it the way it was, which was that it was a personal, loving relationship between Hashem and Moshe. So God wanted it to be written in the Torah as Vayikra. Moshe, though, in his great humility, he didn't want to suggest that he had a special relationship different than anyone else, and so he wanted to write it as Vayikar, without an aleph. And there was negotiation, there was haggling, and a compromise was struck that they would write the aleph, but they would write it as a small aleph. However, I'd like to suggest to you two different interpretations that resonate with me during these incredibly challenging times. The first explanation is one that I heard from my teacher, Rabbi Dr. Jacob J. Schachter, which is that we believe intellectually in Vayikra with an aleph. We have full faith that Hashem is a loving presence in our world. The problem is that at times of loss or illness where things are not going our way, or times of challenge like this, which is that it feels very much like Vayikar. Vayikar means that it's random and erratic, and we don't feel the presence of Hashem at times like this. This period of time is absolute insanity. We have to stay in our homes because nowhere seems to be safe. If and when we walk on the street, and hopefully you are getting outside, and you see somebody approaching, so then it's an awkward moment and you have to go across the street to make sure that they're 6 feet, or you want to be machmir 10 feet, and to avoid the people who are outside. Even chesed, when you're shopping for somebody else and delivering the items, you can't even go inside the home. You have to leave it on the on the front porch, because we're nervous about inadvertently transmitting the disease to someone else or becoming sick ourselves. So it's absolute craziness. This is a period of insanity, and it seems very, very much like it's Vayikar. Where is Hashem? And so we're living in the space of the small aleph. We believe in Vayikra, but it feels very, very much as if we're living in Vayikar. We believe that there's a loving presence of Hashem, but we're wondering, where is He, and what's the meaning and purpose of this all? And our challenge is, according to this explanation, is to try to do our best to move it from Vayikar and to believe in the Vayikra with the small aleph, and then ultimately to believe in the full Vayikra, to have faith in Hashem. And that all the Torah and Hashem asks of us is to move forward, try our best, and recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. If you have feelings of anxiety or stress or nervousness, that's okay. That's a valid, legitimate response to this situation. Don't fight those feelings. Rather, you could embrace it, you could let it in, and that'll give you space then to start thinking about the blessings in your life. However, there's one other interpretation that I wanted to share with you about the Vayikra. In addition to the Baal HaTurim, that it was more of a compromise between Hashem and Moshe, which teaches us humility, which is certainly a message of these times as well. And the second lesson of that we're living in that space of the small aleph, and it's really up to us to strengthen our faith to make it into Vayikra, to recognize that Hashem loves us and is a presence in our lives. In addition to those two explanations, perhaps there's another idea, which is that a person could live through this world and with life's experiences, you can react in one of two ways. The first possible way is to perceive the experience as Vayikra. Vayikra means that this is something that has happened. It's a mikra. It's an occurrence. It's random. There's no specific meaning or message to me. And to relate to something as Vayikra means that this particular event that's happening in the community or in Israel or with a friend does not require anything of me. Vayikra suggests that I'm a passive spectator. Vayikra, however, is a personal call. It means that when something happens, whether in our community or in Israel or in our home, and there are things going on, it's not just that we're mailing it in and going through the motions, but we recognize that when something happens and an opportunity presents itself, or there's injustice, or there's somebody who is suffering, so then this is a call to me to respond. Vayikra as opposed to Vayikra means that I have to be an active player to shape the events, to improve the situation, and to respond in the best way possible. And so perhaps that's why Vayikra is with a small aleph, because it's really up to us. We can't control the circumstances of the world, but we can control whether or not and how we respond. And so the question is that we have to ask ourselves, am I a Vayikra personality or a Vayikra personality? And when something occurs in this world, am I just mailing it in, or am I giving it my all? And we have to strive to be a Vayikra personality. It's a small aleph. It really depends upon us. We have to respond to the situation and use our talents and Tselem Elokim to make a difference. Even with the building of the Mishkan, the Medrash says that Moshe wanted to retire. He already took the Jewish people out of Egypt. He brought down the Torah, and then he built the Mishkan. Now he wanted to retire. And Hashem says, no, I need you now to continue to lead the Jewish people through the wilderness. I need you to teach them about the sacrificial service. And so even for Moshe, maybe that's why it starts as an anonymous call, Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moshe. Vayidaber Hashem elav, and then Hashem spoke to him. Why does it start anonymously and then only later in the pasuk reveal the identity that this is Hashem speaking to Moshe? Because maybe it was really up to Moshe. Moshe could have just perceived this, the building of the Mishkan, as an event that doesn't require anything of him. No, but once Moshe understood his Vayikra, that this is a call to him to be involved and to lead, so then it says, Vayidaber Hashem elav. Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Hashem says to Avram out of nowhere, Lech lecha, right? That we read in the beginning of Bereshit. Just out of nowhere, it doesn't tell us that Avram was deserving of it or merited it. And we got the planes in the background, but that's okay. Maybe that's a cue for me to start winding up. But really the Sfat Emet says that there was a call from the very beginning of time, Lech lecha. And it was Avraham who strained his antennas, and he was able to hear the call, and he responded to it. Natan Sharansky, 30 years ago, was finally freed from the Soviet prison and from the former Soviet Union, and he came soon after his release and his freedom. He went to different communities, including he went to Yeshiva University, and he spoke about the small aleph at that time. And he spoke about his challenging circumstances being in solitary confinement. There's a video going around this week, and there was seminars in terms of Natan Sharansky teaching us now how to get through and to grow through times of confinement. And even though he didn't fully realize it earlier, he says, now I understand that I'm the small aleph, that I have to take the Vayikra, and utilizing my energies and responses, I can make it into Vayikra. And so the message for all of us in that case is that we're all living through a Megillah. And it's not Megillat Esther, but it's Megillat Corona. And these are historic times. And each of us has the ability, each of you is educated, intelligent, and you're knowledgeable of Jewish tradition. You understand the generations and generations of Jewish commitment and dedication and sacrifice that inspire us today. And so through this moment of a Megillah, the question is, are we going to respond and be an active player? And I think it asks all of us and invites all of us to rise to the occasion, to be a strong, stable force in the home, to strengthen our emunah in Hashem, to go from Vayikra to Vayikra, and also to work even harder at times of challenge, to be kind, to be patient, to be loving with one another, with each other, with our loved ones, with our business colleagues, with our communal institutions. This is a time we have to rise to the occasion and act nobly and responsibly and smartly and kindly to one another, reaching out, because this is a Vayikra, it's a personal call to all of us that we have the ability to get through this, and each of us can do our part if we work together and we believe in Hashem and believe in ourselves. I once saw a beautiful thing about the name Moshe, that Vayikra el Moshe, it's Vayikra. And what's the meaning of the name Moshe? So of course, Moshe means that he was drawn from the water, min hamayim ishituhu. But I once learned that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't understand three things. He didn't understand the menorah, how to fashion the candelabra. He didn't understand the shekel, the half shekel, and how to mint that particular coin. And he also didn't understand the new moon. And by each of these cases, the pasuk says zeh. So it says by the menorah, zeh maseh ha-menorah. This is the way to build a menorah. And zeh yitnu. This is the coin that you have to give as a chatzi shekel. And hachodesh hazeh lochem. And so maybe Moshe's name is a mnemonic, or right, it spells out these three things. Mem, shin, hey. Mem is menorah, shin is shekel, and hey is hachodesh hazeh lochem. But why should Moshe be known by the three things that he had trouble with? Why should he be known by the three challenges? It's like a person comes home with a 97, a young boy in school comes home with a 97, and the parent says, where are the 3 points? Why would Moshe be known by his three challenges? He should be known by his 97 or more successes. And the answer is that a person doesn't make a name for himself or herself during the easy times. That you create your legacy when you rise to the occasion during the tough times. These are very, very difficult, challenging times for everyone. And it's understandable to have feelings of anxiety and stress and nervousness. But we have the ability, with faith in Hashem, to get through it. And we make a name for ourselves and create a legacy during the challenges. And that's why Moshe is known by that name of Mem Shin Hey through those challenges. And he moved forward with courage and determination. He asked Hashem and he davened to Hashem for help. And ultimately, he was able to create a legacy that inspires all of us. Just like Moshe answered the call, so too let us answer the call. Let us continue to work together, have faith in Hashem, be smart, and be an inspiring presence for everyone else, emulating Hashem. Wish everyone good health, safety, and success in not just getting through this time, but somehow figuring out a way to grow through this experience. Shabbat Shalom.